again, it's a very relevant topic, a very relevant session, which is kind of continuation of yesterday's session, because we work in organizations, we live in our families, community, societies, and we are not Daniel Defoe's. We don't operate on in a standalone mode. We need people around us. We need competent individuals, or we need individuals. We can turn them into competent individuals through our skills. Right. So today's topic is about teamwork, right? Joining hands with people around us, identifying how the individual links can be connected to form a strong chain. Because a chain is as strong as its weakest link. One weak link in the whole chain, and there it breaks, right? So today's session is about moving from me to we, right? I love to tell stories, and even I understand that we adults also love to listen to stories. So I'm going to start off again with a story which happened in a tribal setup. Yesterday, also, I remember me sharing the anthropologist's take on you. Anthropologists also study tribes. I think tribal people are still the most shy and untouched people, uncorrupted people. The indigenous people, they are a reflection of a very true, pious, pure kind of existence, right? So this study also happened in a tribal area where an anthropologist wanted to understand the mindset of the people there. How do they operate? Yesterday we were talking about we are egocentric societies, and we are self-centered people, and we've moved on to become individualistic societies, right? Tribal societies are still collectivistic societies. They don't own much, but everything belongs to them. That's the beauty of tribal existence, isn't it? I and all of us on this call, we only own our homes. The rest belong to the state, the government. We call it public property, which actually doesn't belong to public. We can use it. That's about our tribal people. I'm going to say something very beautiful, okay? Because that's my philosophy in life. And again, I want you to take this home today. Tribal people live and exist with a sense of trusteeship. Yes. What do you think I'm talking about? What do you think is sense of trusteeship and not ownership? Anyone? So a trustee is just like a chowkidar, isn't it? He doesn't own it, he doesn't possess the property, yet manages the affairs. Correct? So, in our world, in our material world, if we exist with a sense of trusteeship, men may come and men may go, but group goes on forever. हमसे पहले कई आए आए और आकर चले गए, है ना? मैं पल दो पल का शायर हूँ, पल दो पल की मेरी जवानी है, पल दो पल मेरी हस्ती है, पल दो पल मेरी कहानी है. Our lives are very short-lived. Egocentrism, ego, I, me, myself, looking at the world from my perspective, my way or skyway, these are recipes for disaster, right? When we move from egocentrism to world centricism, when we move from what can I give from what is in it for me, right? When I concentrate a lot on contribution rather than what can I take from here, trust me, life changes, right? So tribal people, they basically live in that bias, in that pure kind of existence. I have a PPT today, by the way, but let me just set the tone for the session today. So this anthropologist, he made all the tribal children stand in the queue, and they were to run a race. At the finish point, there would be a basket of fruits, and the winner definitely gets the whole basket of fruits. So he explained everything to the children. They are made to stand up in a queue, in a line, at the start line, and there goes the whistle, get set, go. And post that, what that anthropologist saw was something that he's never seen before in his life. Anybody, would you like to complete the story? Have you heard of this story before? I'm sure somebody must have heard it before. Anyone? Can I please request a few people to switch on their cameras? I'm not going to carry on with the session today. If this is the receptivity you have, then there's no point me talking about whatever I desire. Thank you, Dr. Garima, for switching on your camera. Yes, more cameras to be on. I'll stop the session today. I have that autonomy with Dr. Sunil Dutt. More cameras to be on, please. Thank you, Mr. Hamas, for switching on your camera. Thank you, Mr. Gagan, Anupama. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's how, I would like to talk to people and not to a wall. Thank you, Satakshi ma'am. Thank you so much. Okay, so let me complete this story. So what happened was after the Get Set Go happened, all the children, they held their hands, they ran the race together, they reached the finish line together, and then they distributed the fruits amongst themselves and they enjoyed it. Right? This is called, anybody? Do you remember what is it called? The concept? Thank you so much.
Teamwork.
Sorry? Teamwork?
Team. Yeah.
Yes. In English, it's called teamwork. In African language, Swahili, it is called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because you are. I'm sure you must have come across this story before. All of you must have heard it before. I am because you are mean. You see, I was in the session 10 minutes, 5 minutes before 10. There were hardly any people there, right? Let's assume there was nobody there. Okay. I couldn't have started my session despite all the preparation and everything was ready because I am a speaker if there is an audience. I am a teacher if there are students. I am a parent if I have children, right? Now, the moment our perspective changes from I to we, the moment we start understanding that my existence actually depends upon so many people around us, right? My survival depends upon so many people around us. There's so many women on this call. A hand on your heart. Can we work if we do not have family support? It's so difficult. Life becomes so difficult. So the fact that we are all together, congregated for this, there is somebody back home looking after probably somebody's children. It could be your parent, it could be your mother-in-law, a nanny for your child. Can we be thankful enough to our staff? This lady who comes, cleans our room and cleans our utensils, and somebody who comes and cooks for us. Can we thank them enough? Imagine 5 days, 6 days, go back to COVID. We were doing everything on our own, how difficult our lives were, right? So, let's expand our horizons. Let's start understanding that we are a tiny part of the big jigsaw puzzle around us. Yes, see, look at the beauty. If I am not there, a part of the jigsaw puzzle, the puzzle is not complete. I'm very important. I'm precious. I'm valuable. I'm not a nobody. But at the same time, I'm just a part of it. I get completed. I complete it and I get completed with everything around me. So please start looking at everything around you as your extensions. The animals, the flora, fauna, can we survive without them? We cannot. Let me share something very interesting with you. There was this report which was published on the Environment Day, which said if all the insects they extinct, the earth will be dead in 25 years because they are the base of the food chain. We can't survive. The whole existence cannot survive without them. This is not the end of it. The second part is even more harrowing. If we human beings we cease to exist, the earth will come back to its normal within 25 years. See what we are doing to the mother earth. And we boast to be the most evolved species. My foot. We are only consuming things. There is a beautiful term, consumer terrorism, right? With shopping going online in just a click away, and we making payments from cards and cash getting out of our economy. Look at the amount of money we are spending, right? Whether you need it or you don't, you want it, so you will buy it, right? So we are a part of a bigger whole. Let's understand that. And that understanding helps us value people around us, value their existence around us. uh, uh, why need to say good things about people only once they are gone? Why take flowers only to graves? Why not to celebrate their existence while they are with us? Whether it is relatives, friends, parents, colleagues, anybody and everybody. Right? So that is the kind of mindset that is required to have very peaceful cohabitation. Kal ho na ho, right? So on that note, let's understand how important working together is, and then certain psychological games that we play with each other when we are working in the teams, and how having working in the teams is so complementary, right? So I'll start with showing you a very interesting video. And I would like you to observe the video, and I would like to know, is my screen visible? Can you see the desktop? Can you unmute and say something, because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can't?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am, it
great.
is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's
Thank you.
visible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for responding. I appreciate that. Could you see something?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, I think it was a blank screen. Okay, meanwhile, let's watch another one and we'll go back to that.
Ma'am, is there any audio in this video?
No, no, just read it. So, what a beautiful lesson from nature. If birds can do that, why can't we? Right? So, becoming like geese is so important. We'll go through this once again later on. Let me just show you. Let me just try opening that beautiful video. Just watch it. Goal! Once again, let's watch it once again. Because there is some lesson in this which I want all of you to figure out. Yes. What did you see happening here? What was, what is your observation?
Football again was a teamwork. So instead of one just keeping the ball to oneself, just kept on passing, and every player played its own role to make the goal
Absolutely.
and let the whole team win that point.
Yes. So it wasn't about me, it was about the team. Nobody tried to possess the ball, right? They had a common goal. Literally, they had a common goal. Everybody, as Dr. Garima says, played their roles, right? They were all complementing each other. They were moving strength to strength from, and how, they created that scenario, and they tricked the rest, their opponent, and ultimately the goal happened, right? This is called as teamwork, where you're not bothered about your own personal performance, right? Whether you get the credit for completing the job or not, whether you're visible enough or not, right? We all share a common motive, a common goal that the team needs to win, and that's what we all are working towards, right? So the acronym of team is together everyone achieves more, isn't it? So in a teamwork there's less of me and more of we, and when we are committed towards teamwork in a workplace, the work happens very smoothly. There is very little toxicity. There is very little push and pull, tug of war. The politics reduces. The problems are resolved more quickly. The conflict and the toxicity is less, and performance and output is more. So it's a win-win for everyone, right? We know it theoretically, and I know it that we all know it. Yet, at the workplace, there's so many issues and problems that we face on day-to-day basis because one or two people have some insecurities, isn't it? And or they have certain kind of mindset. I told you, and I gave the example of Indian crabs. You can actually send them anywhere without a lid on the top because they will ensure that nobody can climb up. So that's just the opposite of teamwork. Okay. Now, what is team building? Or let me first talk about the team hota kya hai. So team is actually a group of people or a set of people who share common goals. That's very, very important. The teams are not random crowds standing together. Teams are people who have consciously decided to join hands because there is some common goal. There is something that they desire to achieve together. In most of the times, in teams, people have complementary skill set. Look at any sports team, look at military teams, or anyone, talking about maybe a sports team. कोई striker होता है, कोई batsman होता है, somebody is a wicket keeper, somebody is an acer, somebody spins the ball very well, somebody is brilliant when it comes to fielding, isn't it? Somebody is a hitter, they are sluggers, right? So everybody has a complementary skill set and they actually fit in like jigsaw pieces and they complete the puzzle, right? And they all have this mindset, they at least need to have that mindset that together the accomplishment is more than my personal visibility or the arc light being on me throughout. And many a times teams, they get dismantled after the work has been accomplished, right? The job has been done, the goal has been achieved, the project is over. So teams can be permanent and teams can be transitory. They are formed like NDRM. We know what has happened in Turkey and Syria, right? The teams have gotten formed which are going to give them some relief. Once the job is done, the teams will dismantle, people will come back, right? So we keep sending such peace restoration teams and some financial advisory teams all across the world, and those things are happening, like G20 is happening in India, right? So teams would have been formed, people will execute the plans, and once the sessions are over, the teams will be dismantled and people will go back to business as usual, right? So up team building hai kya? As I said, the teams are together because they have a community purpose in their mindset. They have some shared goal to achieve. They have some common purpose and some common goals, and everything has been built around and organized around that common goal. And there is a community of kindred spirits. Team people, like you saw it in that video also, in the geese video, they all cheer each other, isn't it? Why do you think army battalions, they have war cries? Have you heard of war cries? Do you know what is a war cry? When we had our sports events in schools, all houses, they used to cheer up for each other, encourage each other through slogans. So in Indian Army also, the Sikh regiment is Bole So Nihal, Sat Sri Akal. So is Gorkha Ali. Isn't it? So all regiments, they have those war cries which uh, supports and kindles the spirit of togetherness in those teams. If you watch the Republic Day parade, whenever a battalion is passing, right, they always talk about their war cry. So teams are cohesive because they have shared goals, and they keep these shared goals alive by constantly reminding each other why are they together for. And teams, as you know, sports, military, marketing, quality improvement, problem solving, there could be any project for which a team can be formulated. Now, the beauty of teams is that teams focus on each individual's strength while covering up for one another's weakness, right? And supporting each other, encouraging each other, motivating each other to play on their strength and play on their front foot. That is very important. That brings me to share something very interesting with all of you, something very contemporary. These days when we look at leadership, because teams have leaders, we have roles that people play, and many teams have rotating leadership roles. Like many departments, the HODs are not people who you have one person sitting on the HOD's chair for 1 year, and then somebody else takes over. Correct. So we have rotating teams or rotating leaders. So these days, we have started talking about something called as a constellation model of leadership. Right. Normally, when we think of corporate leadership or workplace leadership, we think of a pyramid with many people at the bottom. And as you keep climbing up, there's one person sitting on the top. Right. So even though, yes, when it comes to ranks, this is how it is. But leaders are choosing now the constellation model of leadership. Anybody, what is a constellation? What do we mean by constellation? It's a group of stars.
Constellation is like a group of stars making some formation.
Very true. Very true. You added something very beautiful, making a formation. Yes. So when we talk about teams or this constellation model of leadership, the leader does not keep all the power to himself. Right. What he does is he identifies strengths in each of his or her team members, right? When you identify a strength in a member, and when you understand that this person is exceptionally good at this particular thing, he or she is a star performer in that specific area, that specific field. Like we all realize we have certain strengths, right? Like I know for sure that speaking is my strength. So any task anywhere where I'm a part of the team, right? Any task where speaking happens, they say, you handle it, isn't it? Any task where maybe sales and marketing is to be done, somebody else would be very good at it. Someone would be very good at planning, somebody would be very good at executing, somebody would be good at networking, right? So we all are stars in our own sense of word. And when that starhood or that stardom is identified by a leader, and the tasks are delegated to the right person, because he is or she is an authority in that specific field, right? And the leader just keeps accountability in his hand, that if the task has been delegated to me, I'm accountable, I'm answerable to that person, so that he's well aware that everybody is doing the task that they had been held responsible for. Right. So instead of poking his nose here, there, and everywhere and taking everything on your own head, right? Please identify the stars in your team. Identify the stars in your classes. Don't try to do everything on your own. There is no need to do that. Leadership is not about doing things oneself. Leadership is about getting things done from others. Right? You can only get that thing done from others when, one, you identify who is good at what. Two, you have trust in their capacity and their ability. You've tried and tested them, right? Three, you hold them accountable for whatever tasks you have given to them, right? Following this, so this is a constellation model of leadership, identifying strengths. We are totally operating on strength psychology now. Let me tell you again. If you're looking for weaknesses in people, yesterday we talked about cribbing, crying, and complaining, and then we talked about complimenting and appreciating, right? So when you expect a fish to fly and an elephant to climb the tree, disasters would happen, accidents would happen, right? So please change your perspective. Identify what is good in the other person. What is that person's strength? Give them a task which complements. We call it person environment fit or person task fit. You are relaxed because somebody else is taking care of that job better than you. You can't be good at everything, isn't it? Plus, the task is getting done so smoothly. Your job as a leader would be monitoring. And successful teams, they know the core values. Every successful team has some core values positioned for a common cause. They have a common goal and they keep together in order to achieve that goal, which has very defined norms and very defined objectives and very defined laid out rules. So, what is very important in a team is some kind of discipline and some kind of structure. There are certain non negotiables in a specific team, and anybody crosses that line, uh, there is this person needs is answerable for that, right? So whenever you formulate a team, ensure ensure that each one of you desire to achieve that common goal or that objective. All of you kind of agree to certain norms that have been laid out or the structure that has been laid out. There are ideological similarities amongst people. That's very, very important, right? And everybody identifies with those core values, or else everybody will be on, their own pathways and their own. Um, they will define their own values and everything, right? Now let's come to something very interesting, which is how are teams formed? This is a very beautiful model which was given by David Tuckman, right? So there are 5 stages of formation of a team. The first stage is called as forming. Okay, so all of you or many of us, we identify that, oh, this needs to be done. It could be, cleaning of your community or your locality. It could be like I remember, I stay in Sector 11, Chandigarh. So the administration has passed an order that the market opposite our lane, we have 17 houses in the first lane. It is going to transform into a public parking, and there's going to be some underground stuff, and there's going to be this and that. And the 17 houses who are going to face this, we realize that our life is going to be very difficult if that happens. Right? So all the people from these 17 houses, they got together. You can see the first picture, joined hands, right? Because we realize that one person alone cannot do it, and we need a workforce to come to talk to the administration, stall this particular plan, because we all realize that it is going to be very difficult. Our living in this neighborhood will get very difficult if this project takes over. So team acquaintances establishes certain ground rules. Formalities are preserved and members are treated as strangers. Obviously, when you're in the forming team, it is too nascent, too early, right? But yes, people with common goals just come together that alone I cannot, and together we can. Once everybody has come together, there comes the next stage when the storming happens, right? So many people, different ideas, different ideologies, different ways of operating, different perspectives and personalities. So once the members sit down and start communicating their feelings, they start interacting with each other, they realize that they are poles apart. They are very different people, right? Somebody would be more dominating. The other one would feel why this person is making so much of noise, why he's hogging so much of limelight, right? So there are clashes that happens. There are disagreements that happen. And sometimes, a team or a group gets dismantled at the storming stage itself because they realize that there's no possibility of working with these members together, right? However, this storming, this crisis results in the third phase where sometimes people drop what the disagreements, or they very gracefully agree to disagree in the storming stage, right? And that's the time when norming or the norms are formed, that okay, members who could just not be a part of the group, they say bye bye to the group, and others, they gracefully agree to disagree, or somebody is quite earned that look, this is not the right perspective. And as a result of all this, certain group norms are formed, right? That is, some structure is created, and some norms or rules are laid, and everybody unanimously agree to abide by this particular structure or these particular norms, which have been created with the consensus of all the members in a group. And this structure keeps the team intact, isn't it? this structure tells the people what is acceptable and what is not. It becomes as a reference point for the group to operate, right? So whether it is families or workplace or temporary teams who have gotten together to accomplish a task and then after that they're going to get dismantled, please remember, if there is no structure, if there are no rules, common rules to govern everybody's behavior, it's going to be a jungle there, right? So, to avoid such situations, unanimously lay down certain rules which are non negotiable, right? You cross the line and you bear the ire. You are answerable to the leader. In the norming stage, leaders and VPs and presidents and treasurers and other heads are formed, right? You will do this. This is your role. A president will do this. A vice president will do this. Secretary treasurer will do this. Fulana coordinator will do this. So we, define the roles for people, give them a common ground to stand on, and everybody agrees to that. Following those norms, the whole team performs, right? This is when a trusting environment has been created where there is flexibility. There can be hierarchy also in that team. But as I said, we are in many organizations, we are following a rotatory model nowadays. The leadership roles are kind of they change every 6 months or every 1 year. Why? Because we want to bring in fresh perspective to the LT leadership team, and also we don't want that one person, one personality, one ideology or thought process leads the team. Right? Every person brings in some freshness to the day, and once the task has been accomplished, right, the team is adjourned. That is the work well done, job accomplished, and it was a temporary project. The project is over. Now everybody goes back to life as usual, right? And recognition of members has happened and the contributions are celebrated. So the task is done, right? So every team, every successful team forms, storms, norms, performs, and then many a times enjoy. Right? This is a very beautiful model given by Tuckman. Now, this is how it happens, forming a lot of gung-ho and a lot of enthusiasm and energy. And then because of the disagreements and all, see, storming, at the time of storming, as I said, it's the low point in a particular team. Many people leave, right? Or they are shown the door, right? And there are disagreements, there is a kind of a crisis. However, any team that wins over or overcomes this storming or this crisis phase formulates the norm, performs, and then adjourns. So always there's a dip during the storming phase, and then after that, it is upward and onward. Why? Because you have rules, right? There needs to be trust and there has to be certain rules. That's the two basic prerequisites for team. Now, trust also, let's understand, develops over the period of time. First, before trust happens to be a rapport amongst the team members, right? This rapport is where they see similarities between each other, right? They identify what is common amongst them, right? Or they figure out whether they can sustain in a relationship for a longer period of time or not. And then later trust builds up because of consistency of behavior, right? If you are there every time the team needs you, if you are reporting on time, if you are delivering on time, right? That's how trust builds up. I use the word on time twice. Why? Time is a language, or time has a language, right? Let's suppose I had 5 sessions with you. Every day I would come late. You will say something about it, or you will formulate some concept about me. Oh, she is always late. Oh, she had been late most of the times. Oh, she is casual, right? Oh, there was some sincerity missing in our resource person. She never started on time. You understand? Time has a language. So don't take time casually. Those of you who joined late, of course, I don't know your names, but definitely people who join on time, you formulate a very different kind of an impression of them. First impression, let me tell you again, is how you dress up and at what time do you arrive. Okay, so be very mindful of your external appearance, right? Dressing up to the occasion and then arriving on time. First impressions are very, very important. Post that, of course, is what is inside. Yesterday I said, now you squeeze a lemon and there is lemon juice pouring out. You squeeze an orange, the orange juice pours out, right? But first thing is how fresh the lemon look appears to be, or how clean the orange appears to be. So work on your exterior as well. That is very, very important. Okay, so this is how teams are formed. And these are the 7 C's of highly effective teams. First is a common goal. Without that, the team is never getting formed. Other than that, it's a crowd only. They are onlookers, right? They're just standing there whiling away their times. There is no mission. Goal is the mission, right? The ultimate end that people are desiring to achieve, and that goal is something that we all need to resonate with. That's important, right? When you have common goals, the next C is cohesion, the togetherness, the solidarity, the camaraderie that needs to be there amongst the team members. I told you now that we kind of cover up for each other's uh, limitations and we do not highlight them, isn't it? We try to compensate for each other's limitations, right? So that leads to cohesion in a team. And then there are collaborations. I told you we are all pieces of jigsaw puzzle, fit in so beautifully with each other, right? That is called as collaboration. You do this, I do this. You report on time, I do this, right? That is collaboration, followed by commitment. So that dialogue from Salman Khan कि जब मैं कमिटमेंट कर देता हूँ फिर तो मैं अपनी भी नहीं सुनता. Don't over commit, but if you have committed, live up to it. Every action, they say, they hear and they forget, they see and they remember, they do and they internalize, isn't it? So when you live up to your commitment, mind you, your action speaks louder than your words. If you're a quiet worker and yet delivering on time, your delivery on time speaks volumes about how committed you were to the goal. Right? So please, as children, we were told promise breakers are shoemakers. Either you do not make a promise in a team, but if you have made a promise, live up to it. I always say, please honor your words. That's very, very important. Right? That's how gentlemen operate. I know it's again a very sexist thing to say, but that's how committed people operate. Right? If either you don't say it, but if you have said it, live up to it. So my tip, my suggestion to all of you, do not overcommit. And if you cannot do it, you just have to say two words. I cannot do it, or I cannot do it by then, or give me another day to complete it, or I already have a lot of work on my table. Can we find so and so to accomplish this work? Can you give me somebody else? Or can you give me? I need someone else to assist me or help me complete this work. That's not a crime, my dear friends. That's clarity. Okay, so commitment is very important. Then is communication. Without communication, teams will be a fiasco, right? Because if there is no communication, there would be assumptions. And when I spell assume, it is ASSUME. And assumption or to assume means to make an ass of you and me. अगर communication clear नहीं है और हम assume कर रहे हैं, again, it is disaster in making, and we will have to bear the consequences of that. Check, recheck. That is why tiny, we make WhatsApp groups for everything. And once the event is over, we all exit that particular group. So keep the communication channels open. Over communication is better than under communication. And then I love this continuous lifelong improvement, never settling up for status quo. The biggest room in the world is room for improvement. Isn't it? This is how growth happens. This is how evolution happens. Had nature not been fond of continuous improvement, life would not have come into existence at all, right? The Big Bang thing would have been still on, correct? And all this that we see around us, all the cultural, the technological, the commercial, everything that's happening never would have changed, right? So nature loves improvement and evolvement. Don't we always say that, our kids are smarter than us? There is improvement in the next version of me, correct? Or the next progeny of me. So that rules apply to us also, and that rule applies to teams also. And the last C is creativity, innovation, doing something new, doing something unusual, doing something infrequent, and not being in that rut throughout, right? So, continuous improvement and creativity, they actually go hand in hand, right? Innovation, unusualness, infrequent things happening in the teams. That's what level up, takes the level up. That's also up the game. That's how you keep the whole system evolving, right? So, starting with common goals, making a rapport, right? Post rapport is trust. Trust builds cohesion. And how is trust built? As I said earlier, you honor your words. You show up every time you said that I will, right? That builds up trust. People understand, they see you as a consistent individual and not somebody as a scatterbrain. People start relying on you because you have a wonderful past track record, right? And that leads to cohesion. With cohesion happens collaboration, cooperation, coexistence, right? People start joining hands, they start seeing strengths in each other, and they start asking each other to play on one another's strength, right? With that comes commitment, right? Communication, continuous improvement, and creativity. So please remember this circle. If you want, you can take a picture of this circle as well. You can take a screenshot. Okay. Yes. Now, this is again something very, very interesting. There's a difference between building team or team building and team bonding, right? Normally, when we do trainings, we talk about team building. A step ahead is team bonding. How cohesively you fit into each other's scenarios in order to create a whole where every piece is important, but it appears as if it's a complete picture. Now, before we go into the details of this, we will first watch that geese video again. And I'll read it out now because now it's time for us to understand it in a better manner. Okay, so every year, you know, these migratory birds come from Siberian countries and they travel thousands of miles. Next season, when you see the geese migrating, going to warmer places to sort the winter, pay attention, they always fly in a V formation, right? Now let's understand, why do they fly in a V formation? When they fly in a V formation, this is called as a streamline body. Look at, think of the shape of the aeroplane, think of the shape of a ship, right? So sharing the same direction and working as a team get us to the destination quicker and easier, and by helping ourselves, we accomplish the goals faster in a greater manner. When a geese leaves the formation, whenever the formation is, he feels the resistance of the air and the difficulties of flying alone. From me to we, right? So if somebody tries to be a Rambo, quickly goes back to the formation to take the advantage of the flock's power in the front of him. They create that air pressure, right? The flapping of the wings create that air pressure. By staying in tune and united beside those who are going in the same direction, the effort will be less. It'll be easier and pleasing to reach the goal, and everybody will be inclined to accept and give help, right? When the leader goose gets tired, see, rotation of the leadership. I just talked about it. He goes to the end of the V formation while another geese takes the lead. How beautiful. Share the leadership roles, share responsibilities. इससे पता चलता है what does it take to be a leader. Sharing the hardest problems in the task, gathering our abilities and combining our faculties, talents, and resources. Okay, when the geese are flying in the V formation, they quack to encourage the ones in front. I love this. In this way, see, I told you now, army has war cries. Why do they think they have war cries? This creates that energy of moving towards the goal in a synchronized manner. So when there is courage and encouragement, the progress is greater. A timely word of encouragement, this is beautiful, always motivates, helps, and strengthens. It produces the best of benefits, right? So don't shy away from complimenting people, meaning well to them, telling them how brilliant they are. Okay, play. So, courage and encouragement is great. When a goose gets sick and it is injured or it gets tired, she obviously leaves the formation, right? Then another goose comes and flies with her. Remember, see? Remember, yesterday we talked about the healed femur? Exactly, this is what it is. The other geese leave the formation, fly with him to help out and protect him, remain with him unless these geese die or is able to fly again. And they form the formation again. Let's stay beside each other no matter what the differences are, especially in the time of difficulties and greater change. Remember, we talked about COVID days also yesterday and how presence of another member helps. If we bond together and support each other, if we make true spirits of teamwork, regardless of our differences, we can rise to meet the challenges. If we understand the real value of friendship, if we are aware of feelings of sharing, life will be easier and passing the years becomes more fulfilling. After all, एक दिन बिक जाएगा माटी के मोल, जग में रह जाएंगे प्यारे तेरे बोल, है ना? So let's support each other. It's a beautiful feeling to love and to be loved, to support and to be supported. Right? So many times people will come and say, "Ma'am, nobody supports us." Right? You be the one then. What else? Become the role model. That is so important, right? I hope you find this interesting and useful. Okay, now let's go back to building and bonding. Right? So building is one thing, but that cohesive bond, to create that cohesive bond is very important. Okay, so when it comes to team building, it is taking care of relationships and the business objectives. Correct? When it comes to team bonding, it takes taking care of relationship within the team irrespective of the goal. The goal remains. We will all be reaching there, but bonding is beyond a goal that binds you together. It is care, it is nurturance, it is empathy, it is standing by each other in the time of difficulty. When it is team building, the objective is to develop relationship to make the team work more effectively. Isn't it? You develop relationship. But when it comes to team bonding, the objective is to have fun, get to know each other, be more comfortable with each other. So it's not just about that common structure, norm, rules, everybody to play their role well, reach the goal ultimately, show commitment. It is beyond that. Getting to know each other's families, children, hobbies. What are your interests? What are our similarities beyond this goal? Right? So that is how sometimes the teams dismantle, but friendships remain for life. Right? When it comes to team building, it is maintenance of a structure using various experiences involving deep dives into team behaviors, values, norms. Again, you see, this is more official. When it comes to team bonding, it is using unstructured experiences like company outings, night outs, parties, sports, and the like, right? So going beyond the well-defined boundaries and operating with each other at the human level rather than the structural, departmental, or the organizational level. More sustainable because it helps teams surface the right behavior and attitude around collaboration, innovation, and handling change. Team bonding is the sustainability can be low, especially when the team and the business encounters bigger challenges and stress. So sometimes the bonding reduces when there is a lot of challenge and stress. The those friendships, they kind of get diluted, but the structure and the norms and the rules, it keeps the teams together, right? So if there is a team bonding along with team building happening in the teams that you are leading, they'll never fail you. Remember that, right? So this is what it is. Now let's quickly look at, because I'm a psychologist, so I see beyond uh, what is happening on the surface of it. So there are four team performance cultures. Let's understand that. One is social loafing, second is social inhibition, third is group think, and fourth is called as group polarization. So be very mindful that whenever we are operating in the team, there are certain shadow areas, dark areas, and these are the four shadow areas. Be mindful of this. This will help you enhance the performance of your team. The social locating is a phenomenon. It was studied by Latane. I'll share something very interesting with you. So what Latane did, there was a sports event going on, and he, hired cheerleaders. So he started with four cheerleaders, and he said, "Your job is just to shout at the top of your voice and encourage the athletes and the teams that are participating." And every now and then he would increase one person in number. One more person would be added to the team of the cheerleaders. And what Latane realized that as he kept on adding members to the team, the resultant volume did not increase in synchronization with the number of people added. So when four became eight, literally the volume should have been doubled. But what was found was that every member adding to the team was not adding much in terms of performance. Why? This is called as social loafing. Social loafing means passing of the responsibility to someone else. Oh, somebody else will take care of that. Diffusion of responsibility. A person exerting less effort to achieve a goal when they work in a group than they work alone, right? So when you see people, when you expand your teams and you see that the performance is not kind of up to the mark, what the underlying reason for that is social loafing, right? And one of the main reasons groups are something less productive than the combined performance of members of individuals who work in the team. And one way we can reduce social loafing is through personal accountability. So, when I'm delegating a task to someone, this person is accountable to me sharing his performance, isn't it? So, when every individual is held responsible to quantify the performance and share what they did or how did they fare on that task, social loafing will reduce. So the tip of the day is whenever you delegate a task, whenever you have a large team working under you, please ask for reporting. Define the roles very well so that there is no finger pointing and there is no off shouldering the responsibility. This was never told to me, ma'am. I thought someone else will do it, right? That is diffusion of responsibility. So make goals very clear, explain to everybody who is supposed to do what, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with children, you're asking your school children or your college children to do something, ask them to repeat what they heard, right? And then give them deadlines, and reporting is a must. Accountability is a must, or else this whole initial activity will go completely waste, right? The second problem that we face in team building is called social inhibition. That is when people become conscious of other people's presence. In twosome or when they are alone, they are exceptional, right? But when it comes to others in the group and the presence of others in the group, they start faltering, right? They start to feeling inept, right? The beauty of my subject is not only does it identify a problem, it also offers a solution, right? So, why social inhibition happens is because of fear of disapproval, fear of criticism, fear of the fact that I will be evaluated and somebody might make fun of me. Somebody might think how stupid I am to have given this idea, or how unprepared I was, or how naive my performance was. And all this is going in the head of a person, right? So, if you really want to reduce inhibition in your surroundings, it could be work, it could be home, make the environment non evaluative, non critical. You can give feedback. We talked about the sandwich method, but give it in person. Na? Why make a public announcement about it? Hey, you didn't do well here. Or, hey, you could have improved there. No need for do that. Appreciate people in public. Get the best out of them. Why do you think, any award ceremony, it happens like a ceremony, and everything that is given to a person is given in front of thousands and hundreds of people? Prize distributions and any kind of appraisals, awards, when they are happening, it's always a social ceremony, because that's how appreciation is to be given to someone. It leads to dopamine. We are social beings, right? We love appreciation and we love to be appreciated. Why Facebook is so popular? Because all the comments, all the likes, the whole world sees that. Oh, he has got 800 comments. My God, 2000 likes. You understand? We love to show off what we have. So if you want to reduce inhibition, whatever you dislike or wherever someone needs to work, please make it private. You will get the best out of that person, right? You will win the trust, the heart of that person. The third problem that happens with teams is called as groupthink, right? So if one person has said that, everybody will say, ha ha ha, theek hai, theek hai, theek hai. Right? Because, we are very high on social desirability. I don't want to be ticked out. I don't want to be considered as an outsider, non compliant person. Isn't it? So, even though I wish to disagree with you, the desire of harmony or conformity results in an irrational decision making. Nobody is challenging that. Right? So, my tip to all of you to avoid groupthink: the leader need to speak at the last. Remember that. Because if the leader has spoken in the beginning, there's no point. Nobody is going to come up and say, very few people, or maybe one odd courageous, gallant person will say, sir, I disagree with you, because boss is always right. Isn't it? Leaders speak the last, at the last. Leaders eat at the last. That's a very important function of leader. Okay, so when the discussions are happening, or when people are asked to give their opinions, let it be a non-evaluative, non-judgmental environment. No criticism happening. Every suggestion is welcome. Later on, we can do the pruning, right? And we can drop certain ideas which we think are dysfunctional or not really executable or non-operational. But at a certain point of time, everybody raise your hand, stand up, and speak up. There's nobody's going to tick you or check you for that, right? So we have gathered all the perspectives and the ideas, and there will be people who are called as devil's advocate. They would find fault with everyone. Don't get irritated by them. They are the people who kind of warn you against groupthink. We call him a devil's advocate. You actually install people in a group who have this job of questioning every action that is being taken, right? Or every decision that has been made. They are the critics, and they have been assigned that job of a critic, because we do not want that herd mentality. Groupthink, the other name for groupthink is herd mentality, right? Everybody's actually agreeing to what has been said. And the last concept here is called as group polarization. What happens is when there are larger groups, so we tend to move towards the the group or the point which is very extreme, right? So let's suppose we started that, any child who fails, let's find him 100 rupees. So members deliberating on this will move 100 to maybe 500. They move to an extreme point, whatever direction is indicated by the members, right? A members pre-deliberation tendency. So, group gets polarized. Everybody tend to gather on one end of the group. So again, in group think and group think leads to group polarization. Isn't it? Everybody cohesive. Nobody is kind of asking why. Nobody is questioning the reason behind what are we doing and why are we doing. Right? So पत्थर मार के मार दो, सारे बोलेंगे हाँ हाँ पत्थर मार के मार दो. Right? And one person will pick up the stone and throw it at another group, and everybody would follow. And फिर वो पत्थर का गोली बारूद क्या बन जाए कुछ पता नहीं. Group polarization. Right? So basically what I'm trying to say is that working in teams, working together is a beautiful phenomena. It is a very strength oriented phenomena. It's a very sacred experience when you see everybody playing to their strengths, pulling in their resources, bringing on table what we all have, right? That is called as a teamwork. However, there are certain setbacks or side effects. So we got to be extremely mindful of that, right? So this is basically more or less all about teamwork. We'll have a look at one more video to understand the beauty of togetherness, and then I will come back to you and I'll ask you, what did you learn? What are you taking home today? Because without reflection, there is no point of learning anything new. See, we call them differently abled, or we call them special children. Yes, they are special, right? They operate through their hearts and not through their heads like we so called normal people do, isn't it? So let's go beyond the normal, right? The normal is something that is happening in routine every time. And let's go beyond that. And let's move from I to we. Let's move from egocentrism to world centricism, right? Let's expand our identities to embrace, take in our fold more people than just me and myself, right? That's the lesson. That's the final conclusion.